Adam here from ARB Overland, and in today's video I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about how to make and use jungle knots. So jungle knots are essentially just a length of cord that's been tied together at the ends and then a series of overhand knots tied along its full length. And what they allow you to do is quickly and easily set up and take down your tarp without having to tie any knots. So to make them, you're going to need some cord, and you can use either paracord or bank line. Personally, I prefer to use bank line because it doesn't stretch or hold moisture like paracord, and it's also a little bit lighter. Bank line comes in two varieties. There's braided and there's twisted. I personally prefer to use twisted because in a survival situation I can easily separate the three strands and then break them down even further if I have to. And my favourite bank line is the twisted size 36 made by Catahoula Manufacturing, and I'll include a link in the video description as to where you can find this. So the first thing I'm going to do is start by measuring out and cutting an 8 metre length of cord, and the reason why I'm using 8 metres will become apparent in a bit. So once I've measured out and cut my 8 metres of cord, I'm then going to take my lighter and melt both ends over, and that way they can't come untwisted. So once that's done, I then want to tie these two ends together, and to do that I'm going to use an overhand knot. So I first create a loop and then I pass both ends up through the loop and cinch it down. And ideally you want to leave about a 1 to 2 inch tail just to help prevent this from coming undone. The final step is to then continue tying overhand knots along the full length of the cord, and ideally I want them to all be at roughly 4 to 6 inch spacings. And to keep them spaced consistently, what I like to do is place the last knot at the bottom of my fist and then tie the next knot on the top of my fist. So I finished going along the full length of my cord, tying loads of overhand knots, and they're all at roughly 4 inch centres. Now initially I started off with an 8 metre length of cord. I then folded it in half, which made it 4 metres, and now that I've finished tying all the knots at roughly 4 inch centres, the finished length is 3 metres long. And ideally you want jungle knots to be anywhere between 2 to 4 metres. I've personally found though that 3 metres is a bit of a sweet spot. So the last thing to do is to attach the jungle knots to our tarp. And to do that I take the loop end, I find the point on my tarp that I want to attach it to, in this case the corner, I pass it through the tarp and then I pull the entire length back through on itself. So for storing them, what I like to do is loosely wrap them around my hand. I'll leave a reasonable tail, which I'll then use to go back around the bundle. I'll thread that back through on itself and pull it tight. And that way all my jungle knots are stored in nice little bundles, they're quick and easy to deploy, and they don't get tangled up on themselves. So using jungle knots is even easier than making them. All you do is unravel one, pass it around a nearby tree, put a bit of tension on it, and then pass one of the knots through a loop. And what's happening is the tension on the cord is pulling one knot against the other and stopping it from coming undone. To release them, all you do is pull and it comes undone. If for some reason you do need to make this a bit more secure, you can take something like a stick or a tent peg, thread it through the loop, pull that tight, and that way it can't come undone until this has been removed. Alternatively, you can also pull another knot through, cinch it back down on the first one, and that'll give you a little bit more security. If you do find that your jungle knots aren't long enough, you can easily extend them by taking another length and attaching it to the first using the exact same method we used to attach them to our tarp. And if you found this video useful, then please like, subscribe and join the adventure at ARB Overland.